All right, testing. Thank you all for attending. We're going to get started from our topic from last week. We left off from speaking about a lot of the different source references for the trust and how you're going to connect yourself to the sole proprietor. So I wanted to make sure I went over that in detail again, but I'm going to get right where we left off last week. I know it's a lot of information, but if you don't understand it now or know it now, it'll basically catch up with you later, and you'll understand that they're going to be able to find a way to, we'll say, lock your funds or find a way to keep you under the individual side of the banking system, which I'll explain in detail a little bit later, how you can no longer be an individual once you have executed a revocable living trust. So I wanted to open up first introducing myself as one of the instructors. I work at University Technicians. I've been working at University Technicians for over maybe 7 years. Actually, I started off in the trust realm maybe back in 2018. Before that, I started off with the foreign trust, but then I got into the domestic trust once I learned that I can't really deposit funds on a foreign account when I'm actually living in America. So it was kind of difficult to try to focus on a foreign trust. So I started focusing on the domestic trust. That's what got me into the revocable living trust. So this happened maybe back in 2017, but I had already created my revocable trust back in 2017. I just didn't know how to use it. So that was my issue. I had something, I had the documents, but I wasn't using the documents. Once I learned how to use it, this would be around 2019 going into 20, because 2019 is when I learned about the banking system and I learned how I was supposed to become a banker and a broker in order for me to be able to manage things without the banking system, which you will say I'll get into later on, the Federal Reserve Bank. So that is my introduction of getting started and why I did my revocable trust is because I wanted to start a business. And when I started my business, I needed to get funding. So I had to create my first business was a bank. So I didn't create a LLC. I didn't create a corporation. I was trying to figure out how do I create a bank. And that's where I started off with my knowledge and my information and studying it to see where I can fit in with that information. So thank you all for coming in this week. We want to stay as interactive as possible. I want you all to pick my brain. I'm here to pick your brain and for us to meet the mind so we can understand what is going on with this system that we're supposed to manage and we're supposed to run. But that's my introduction. I wanted to see if anyone else had any introductions or thoughts you wanted to do as when you first started using the revocable trust, what has worked out for you and what's not working out for you. You want to find out what exactly didn't work out for you, some of your failures, some of your things that were kickbacks. We want to learn that so we all can have the same understanding of where we came from and where we are going.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me
Yes,
okay?
greetings. I hear you well.
Peace and love, Brother Wallace. Let's flow focus. I'm here, long time listener, man, long time follower because, I've learned a lot over the long time I've been looking into this kind of stuff. And boy, howdy, I'll say I've had a lot more struggles with this than I've ever intended or even expected because once you start to learn about the philosophy, you want to get your hands on the mechanisms to start to operate how you're thinking, how you're expecting things to go. And then, once I started to put all this stuff together, start like you were just saying, getting the instruments, sitting on them, and not knowing what to do with them, you know, making that connection between the philosophy and the mechanism of what I actually have and what I can do, it always kind of leaves me scratching my head or, kind of wondering. I could be a perfectionist. I could be afraid of making mistakes. I could be afraid of doing things differently. You know, it could be a lot of different things. I'm sitting here looking at my digital folder. I've got 17, 16 or 17 items in here that, you know, my legal framework, if I can, mix and match, synergize what I've got here, I can probably build something that's useful to me in one way or another. And many many other ways. To my hope, at very least, wishfully thinking, you know, I want to try to figure this out so that I can share this with my friends and family, then we can all move forward. So, I don't know what to say so much as how I can share my, what do you want to say, how do you say, successes or failures, because I'm still kind of in a learning pattern. I'm sharing things with other people, I'm learning things with other people, and they also give me feedback as well. I've been in a lot of different circles for a long time, so I'm listening and I'm gaining lots of understanding. And I've done a few things. I've filed taxes, I've opened bank account, I've gotten a credit line or whatever, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of momentum that needed to go with that I didn't exactly implement at the time. So I guess those you could say were the first stroke on a pull tab, one of the pull string engines. I tried to get her going. I got to get another rip at the cord. You know what I mean? So I just feel like a lot of these struggles come from that fear of rejection, the fear of making mistakes and the inability to really gather yourself after you kind of hit a wall or something like that. So like, I don't know if I'm rambling, but that is really what I think is one of my biggest issues if it ever arises.
Yes, thank you, Berlin, for sharing that. And that is very important. The way you're explaining this is that we got to understand the mindset of this whole trust. It sounds like that's what you're saying. Is what do I do to stay confident and not feel like maybe I'm doing it the wrong way? Maybe somebody got something better than I got, and I need to do it the way they got it going on. And we have a lot of that, especially in the trust realm. Someone's going to say, "Hey, we don't do it like that. We do it like this." And these are problems because the trust is for us. We have to trust ourselves. That's the first trust, to trust yourself. Then once that happens, we can gain this confidence that we need to go out there and help others that we trust, that we'll say, right? My mom, my dad, my aunties, my brother, my sister, my cousins, right? So if we can't even help them, then it's like we out here helping all these other people, but it doesn't feel right. It's like, hey, I'm helping all these people, but I can't even help my family, right? I can't help my grandma. My grandma need help, right? All these things that we're dealing with. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Flo. It's not just a paperwork game, you know. It's a lot more to it once we gain the paperwork. It's what we're gonna do with it when we get it. So thank y'all for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we got any seeing we have Brother Grice, Bobby on luck he wanted to say something. And if anybody else, feel free to raise your hand and put in a commentary to share your results. Like we want to hear your failures. We want to hear your successes. So it's not a game of perfection. We're gonna say and nobody's perfect with the way we do this trust. So we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get rejected. So that's the first step: is learn how to accept and overcome objections, overcome rejections. I'm sorry. So anybody else? I think I want to give the mic to Bobby if he had a thought too.
Yes, so I don't really have a thought. Not really a thought. I just wanted to share my experiences and things that went wrong. But from my understanding, when things went wrong, it is also a remedy. So, like when you do trust or other things, it's always, at least in my regard, it's always about freedom. And since I can think, I want to be free. I want to be private. I want to be away from the government. And so, yeah, you hear it maybe on my voice. I'm from Germany, but I'm a born American. And since 4 years back, I came back to America because of COVID. But anyway, so I came here. I found out about the information that you truly can become free with knowledge. And since then, I stepped in from security leverage to trust, and I jumped around from corner to corner. And I truly think that the Brother Wallace has a one-way direction where you can go with, and it is not easy or something. You still have to do your work, but it is more a one-way direction. Other teachers or people gonna send you around, and that you're gonna turn in a circle. And I just wanted to say that I feel confident, and it feels like remedy to be with Wallace because it's a one-way direction. And also, if you want to travel more privately, I have DOT plates. I have an own private plate, but I never put them on my car because I came to realization that it's not the proper way to do it. So you can see it as a failure, but for me, it's a true remedy because before damage occurred, I found out that it's not the true way and I stopped doing it. So there are many topics like those with the plates that went wrong, but it's also a remedy because you started seeing that it's not the true way. So everything is pretty good. I also have my living trust filed at the court case. So yeah, starting moving as a trustee. What else is there? I'm gonna correct my status with the IRS. I have all my documents now created and filled out. So yeah, I feel good about everything. And yeah, I will give the mic back.
But thank you for sharing that. I just, I'm quite sure you had some run-ins with that where people believe you can travel not for hire and you put that on the back of your car and the plate. So I thank you for sharing that because we got a lot of people that may feel that it works for them, but we want to be careful with sharing knowledge that doesn't work for others. So I'm glad that you brought that out. And there is remedy for that, like you're saying, that we can use that works, a lot more straightforward instead of going all over the place trying to do this and do that and maybe waiting 30 days to get certain documents and things like this or years, right? So we got to be careful with saying that there is something that is more to do whenever you're getting started with something like we'll say trusting ourselves. So that's great knowledge that you was able to bring in of the plates and how you're still going to live regular. You're living the same way with the vehicle, but it's just going to be a little more protected. So can you share a little bit more of like what guided you out of that DOT? What are you using now?
Yeah, so what guided me out of the DOT and private plates? So I'm a big fan still of it, and I'm proud of people who do it successfully and who stand behind it. But yeah, while talking with Brother Wallace, especially with Brother Wallace, um, I started seeing that it cannot be the true way because there are still laws and we have to flow with the system. If you go against the system or you find ways to bypass it is cool, but it is also risky. And when you have family and other things, I just can't risk it. I just can't give them the opportunity to tow the car or do other things because there's always going to be a better maybe. It depends, like Wallace said, some people are successful, but it's not for everybody. And yeah, so what brought me out of it is Brother Wallace. And there are ways to operate which automobile, but still being private. And the way would be the revocable living trust, where the trust owns the car and owns the insurance, and the individual is out of picture. And I think this is the true way for me. Yes, I don't like give the state my money. I don't like it at all. But maybe I'm gonna give it back after my status is corrected. Who knows? But yeah, this is I think the true way, at least for me.
Yes, thank you for that once again. I have experience with that as well. So some of us may still have that issue with the car where you can get, everything right and the police or the people still pull you over. And as a matter of fact, I give a testimonial since you brought that up that I actually got pulled by the police about a few days ago while I was actually doing a delivery service. So when he pulled me over, um, I mean, I wasn't actually in the dealing with the plates or anything at this point because I was using regular vehicles. I do lease business vehicles. If you all see my videos, I show you how to create your own delivery service business. So at the end of the day, I got pulled over. I found out my lights were off. That's why he pulled me over, and I really was off. I wasn't. He wasn't making. He actually was keeping my safety. So I'm glad he pulled me over because I didn't realize I had the lights have to be on auto. So it was turned off of auto, and then I was driving down, and then I didn't realize where I was going. And when he pulled me over, my driver's license actually is expired, actually. So my driver's license is expired. So for some reason, the energy of this officer was different when I gave him the ID. I was gonna give him the passport because I thought of the whole, oh, I'm a U.S. national. I don't have to give him my license. I resist him and say, hey, I don't need to give you my driver's license. Here's my U.S. passport. I could have did that. I have the USA passport ID. But for some reason, Spirit told me just give him the expired driver's license. So I gave him the expired driver's license. He goes to the vehicle. He runs the expired driver's license, and he comes back, and he was peaceful. He was peaceable and everything. He gives me back the expired driver's license that I, have, and I plan on getting it updated and everything. And I explained to him, yeah, I've just been having a lot of time. I haven't had a chance to get in there. I got to make an appointment. Yada yada yada. So he gives me back the ID, and he tells me to have a nice day. Why am I saying all this? I didn't resist him. I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't do anything that was wrong. Because, I mean, if anything, I believe my things may be updated in their system. It could be I gave that revocable trust over to whoever they are, and it was over them. So what I'm saying is communication seems to go through over time if you feel confident even talking to these officers. So I was bringing that up to say that I forgot about that as a live testimony to get into the vehicle situation for us. Some of us who are dealing with the tickets or the pullovers and things like that. We'll get into all that a little bit later as well. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think this plays a role that you work and talk as a trustee and also correct some records at the agencies that that they just let you move. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is important for us to feel confident that you are feeling like you're actually communicating with them. And even if you may feel like maybe they don't have a copy of it, send a copy to the chief. Send a copy to the chief judge, whoever it is that's the boss, if y'all want to make sure this is real. Because some of us are thinking this is fantasy of communication with the trust. Like you have to actually communicate as a trustee of the revocable living trust. And when you do this, this is going to make you feel different when you deal with their system. That's the first thing we're going to learn. You're going to feel different when you deal with their system. So let's get out of that part. I want to give more chance for other testimonials. We're going to do it up to about 6:30. Does anybody else in the audience want to give any testimonials of what is not working out, right? For instance, what is not working out for your trust, or what is working out for your trust? These are the two layers we like to talk about and see what we can do to change whatever situation we may be going through that is not working out with the trust. All right, so we have no one at this time. No one wants to share anything. So uh, I gave I gave my testimony. So let's just jump into this part where the sole proprietor. Let's jump into that part again. Let me see if I can go to this. Somebody said an important thought earlier. I heard that with the sole. All right, so right here, this is where we left off last week, where I was able to go into some of the corporate trustees. So when you all say you have a co-trustee, be careful with that word, a co-trustee. It's just short for corporate trustee. So be careful with those that we may say is a corporate trustee or a co-trustee. So I left off last week about the Federal Reserve Bank system, and it says the social card number and name of social card name and number is used for a corporate banking system under the rules of the federal codes. This maintains the court test and the control test. to full authority and administration over total deposits. This is where the corporate banks are appointed as co-trustees. Here we go. So this is where we're getting out of these corporate banking systems too, even if they're private, because these are the private banks, the corporation offices. All right, so we're going to talk about this in detail today to show you all how you all are talking to private banking systems. Are appointed as co-trustees with all banking institutions. Here we go. So there's somebody asked questions about Form 56F, and I'll get into why the Form 56F is not for the living man or living woman. The Form 56F is not for you. This is how they come in and they're going to take over those accounts. So the banking institutions come in the United States and also throughout the world. All right, so they're able to seize accounts all over the world. So I was telling you all how I was able to try to get out of that mindset of trying to have that foreign trust, like how we had a lot of people with the 9-8 numbers. I remember that's how I got into the trust game. I had the 9-8. I remember those days. You know, I thought I was out of the system. I was gone. But then I learned more about how they work, they operate. They have their banking system is all over the world. I'm like, man. So the 9-8 number didn't fully work out for me as I was trying to stay too foreign. So I had to get back into the domestic trust. So I got back into understanding how to operate and deal with my SSN. I'm gonna say that had to deal with the SSN. I didn't want to go back to the Social Security card. Right? Nobody wants to go back to the social card. But that's what led me back. Had to get right back to the Social Security card. So the Social Security card name and number is given over to the corporate trustees who are over total deposits. So that's where this is coming at, where the deposits are very important for you. You're going to learn how to maneuver those deposits. So any comments or questions so far based on the Federal Reserve banking system? Does anybody have any thoughts as we enter into the corporate offices? This will be the private side of their system. We're going to say this is the private side. All right, so what is our answer? What do we do? Somebody's going to ask, what do I do? I got the trust, I got the EIN. You know, I got all these other appointments. I got these other tax forms. I got all these things, right? Go ahead. Somebody got a thought?
Um, Brother Wallace,
Go ahead.
you were saying about the 56F. So that's dealing with this banking system. You said all over the world. I mean, it's just strictly banking. It's not for the living man or woman. The 56F.
Correct. When you read the form in the instructions, go ahead, Bobby. I see Bobby may want to answer that too.
Not really. I just thought about it's not for the living man or woman, which is correct, but the trust is not really man or woman. It's just so it would work in regards to co-trustee. When filing Form 56F, you are assigning a co-trustee, and like he said, the co-trustee is then a corporation, which would be a co-trustee. So yeah, I don't really have an answer. It's just my thought that you would assign a co-trustee.
Correct. That's the key point is that once you all have given your trust back over to the bank, this is what we're doing. We're giving your trust back over to them. They are now being appointed as this new title as co-trustees. This is what's happening.
Oh, oh, it's like because you surrendered it back to them.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer private.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And we know this is true because they're going to ask you for the individual social, right? When they have you fill out the application at their bank, this is how we figured this out. When you all get those trust accounts, they're having you fill out the individual side, right? Anybody have
Right.
thoughts or questions to this trust account that they're placing themselves in as the co-trustees? This is every trust account all over the world. Just for those who are new to this, you didn't know, if you thought that you got out, their jurisdiction is all over the world. Just to kind of give you the layer of how the IRS and the IMF we talked about last week, how they're able to go everywhere.
Mm.
So I told you the 9-8 number didn't get me out. I tried the 9-8 number for a long time. You know, they tell you, hey, you're get the foreign side, call the foreign number when you get the 9-8 number. All these things. But I'm saying to you that even if you do that, there's still a jurisdictional power they have over those deposits. Is where we're laying this into the main thing. So we want to pick everybody's brain on this topic right here. This is the private side. This is the corporation office. I went over y'all public side last week. That was the public. You know, we talked about all the public offices last week. The ones that y'all should already have been able to take the power from. So the Treasury already said, hey, great. Thank you for turning in your 2848. Thank you for turning in your Form 56s and filing your taxes. Just for those who say I did everything with the Treasury. That's great. That's your first office. Wonderful. Right? Now you know the treasurer is the one giving you the check. Next is your Social Security office. We know that y'all are not dealing with the Social Security office the right way. Some of us don't even call them. We don't even know who they are. So yeah, the Social Security office is important because the Treasury just gave your money over to the Social Security office. Next after Social Security office, you got to go through the state and the county and the state/country office. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter what country you in. Your state/country. Right? You could be in Africa. You can be in Asia, right? Their country office, right? All those funds have went over to that account. The state has control over the funds now too. And guess who they hire? They hire their state attorneys, the attorney generals, their county attorneys, their city attorneys, and they private attorneys that I'm talking about right now. So giving y'all a quick recap of last week of what we went through. The public. This is just the public side. Now you got next is the county office. The county is the biggest one. That's the one that got all the claims. All claims for cash, violations, payments, property, land, etc. This office manages all types of claims. So that's your last public office right here is the county office. So anybody have any thoughts or questions on this part on the public side? Now we're getting into the private, just to kind of distinguish what side this is when you're going to talk about the banking system. So yes, they're able to come in on the private side with the Federal Reserve banking system right here. Now it says the Social Security card name and number is given over to the corporate trustees. That's right. So as you see, the county is going to give you over. Right, they're the last office. They're the last office on the deck. And who do they always give jurisdiction over in the court? Who always takes you to court? Anybody want to answer that question? You got the answer right here. Feel free to answer. Who do you think is taking you to court? Anybody want to type it in?
The state, the corporation.
No.
I know it's always
Is it the bank?
the attorney, like what trustee
Mm.
for the court, for the bank or corporation?
You said it. You said somebody else said it too. What is it? The who?
Trustee?
No. The somebody else said the
Bank.
word. Start with a B.
The bank.
There you go, brother. Thank you.
Oh, attorney for the bank. Okay.
But no. It's the bank. Isn't the bank taking you to court? Makes sense, right? This is for all of us. We got to make sure we're totally detailing this as a private. This is the private side. They're taking you to court for a private matter. That's how they get jurisdiction. So they get jurisdiction over the funds, over the total deposits. That's how they get they get access to those deposits, y'all. All right. That's how we get to the point where you see you deal with the banking system. So now you got to see what side you're on, how they can challenge you. So if you see this social security card name and number, every year they're able to challenge your deposits. So as we heard earlier, I'm gonna give you all the remedy. Read from last week, we see the main remedy for you to do is to go the straight way by saving your soul. We're saying it the SOLE. And the way we have to see it in this realm, we have to see the SOLE. So you have to save your soul and you're going to become the soul trustee. That's how you save your soul, becoming a soul trustee. So you go the straight way. Don't go to the left side or to the right. The left side is staying an individual and grabbing the LLCs and grabbing the corporations. That's the left side. That's staying on the corporation side. Or to the right, going straight to the trust accounts. Going straight to the trust accounts. You're not supposed to go to the trust account first. You got to go to yourself. You got to get yourself right so that you can manage the trust. Right? So the straight way is to save your soul, which is your sole proprietor. As we say, by opening up that savings account at the sole proprietor savings account. I know this sounds so basic. It sounds so basic, right? Open a savings account for the sole proprietor. I know someone has done these things. Some of us have already have this, and we've been doing it for years. Some of us who are here. But you see the difference. You see the way it's easier and a lot more efficient when you open the savings by opening a sole proprietor account. What's going to happen after you do this? The social name and number will come out of the corporate banking system. All right. So this is your only remedy. And they have some tricks to bring you right back into the corporate banking system with the sole proprietor too. We're not going to talk about that this week though. We're going to keep it easy for y'all. We're going to talk about the individual still, because there's still a way that you can go back after coming in and saving your soul too. We don't want you to ever go back. Everything is go forward at this point. So the sole proprietor is important for the gain the soul first. And then once your soul is right, then you can get the trust right. The corporate banking system is going to take over if you don't have this. The social security card name and number will be given back to the corporate banking system. That's right. So once you get out of this corporation that they have created for you as a baby, we'll get into that, the deep meaning of the baby footprint, which I got to show diagrams for you all, because some of this stuff you can't just hear the words without seeing pictures. So some of the pictures I like to show is some of the things that you don't remember, but I'm gonna bring this back to your memory of what they collected when you were, we'll say, just a baby. Anybody remember that? What did they collect when you were a baby?
Your not fingerprint, your footprint and your DNA.
You said your what print? Which one?
It's the footprint of your soul print.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So the baby print, right? What was the baby's print? The sole of that foot, right?
Correct.
Does that add up to everyone? They know this. They are detailed with this. Every one of y'all. Let me see if I can find the screen for you. But for those who need to see it. All right, here we go. So remember this right here? So it's able to get the baby footprint. It's how you know you're the grantor. You're the grantor of the trust. So if any of us are questioning the trust, you don't question the trust because you're saying, hey, are you denying the grantor? You're the grantor because the baby's footprint was put on the paper. So right here, I read a little bit of the baby sole of the foot. The sole of the baby's foot is a complex structure that plays a crucial role in their development and health. The Bembinski reflex, also known as the plantar reflex, is a natural response that occurs when the sole of the foot is stroked from heel to toe. The reflex is present at birth and typically lasts up to 2 years, during which time the big toe moves upward and the other toes fan out. All right, so you all see how this is detailed to the whole sole of the foot from a medical standpoint, the whole development of the whole human being. But I went into this to kind of give us layers of what we saw when we were babies, the baby soul footprint, when you got the birth certificates and you got your medical documents, the hospital. You guys remember that? That's where this whole thing happened. That it happened at the hospital. All right. So this is important for us to see this from the perspective of the soul, the SOLE. Right, here we go. It's a great example right here. And we know mama and dad and everyone may probably still have these documents. So you may have a picture of it. Right. So this is what we're saying. This is right here. You're gaining your soul back. This is where this is coming from. So any questions on this part to kind of understand the soul, the SOLE? Because some of us may have never heard that before, but it is found throughout their tax records and in the government system. We're able to find the SOLE. All right, so oops, I messed up. I was supposed to go to the note. Okay, so wow. Okay, last thing we left off was the Social Security card name and number will be given back to the corporate banking system. So that is your goal. You want to give all those things back to them, and you're going to create your own. You're going to create your own trust. That's what this revocable living trust is about. Because you're on the individual side right now, so you have signed all of their trust agreements that they have in place for your individual name. We're going to say your individual name. Next, we have is the corporate bank name, which is on the Social Security card. That's in all capital letters. That's the reason why I have it all here in capital letters. That's the corporate bank name and number will be given. I'm sorry, it will be forgiving all funds. That's what's going to happen with that corporate bank name and number. It will be forgiving all funds to the sole name as trustee of the grantor. I'm gonna read that one more time for you. The corporate bank name, right? That social security card. I'm gonna give you all a picture in a moment of the social card. The corporate bank name and number will be forgiving all funds to the sole name as trustee of the grantor. That's gonna make sure that you're out of the system of the corporate side. That's what gets you into the grantor position. Now we have evidence of this that you're the grantor because of the soul. So going to the left side is to the individual personal account. Now that's giving you all the detail of what that looks like. That's that personal bank account that is going to the left side. That keeps you on the individual side, even if you have a nice Maserati in the car drive, right? Even if it's a nice car, right? It could be anything. Nice house, nice car. Is it on the individual side? That's what we're saying this is. Or going to the right side. is to the trust account. So that's another layer that we found, the trust account. So if you got everything all into the trust accounts, like the Rothschild and the way the world system had already set up the trust, those are going to always be under the corporate trustees. So we got to break it down into the point of understanding the co-trustees. Now, some of us are saying, well, I don't care. I'm good. I'm gonna just live my life. I don't need to worry about that. I'm gonna keep it on the trust account because I just got to go and just do it a certain way every month and I'm straight. So that's the trust account side. And what's happening is you are giving over, you are giving over your trust instrument to the bank again. Mm, mm, mm. You see? So you're giving over your trust instrument to the bank again. This recreates or reconstructs a trust bank agreement you signed as an individual. So that's where we got to the trust accounts. We found out in those banking documents somewhere they got you signing again as the individual. We don't know why it doesn't let you sign, even if you try to put UCC 1-308 or all rights reserved or without recourse, all these things some people do with the individual side. We're still showing you you're still on the individual side. It's not knocking it. It's not saying it won't work if you choose to be that one that battles and challenges those ones. They're going to take you to court, right? So they're hard to challenge all the time, just letting you know. So if you stay on the individual side, there is a challenge that can eventually come up, right? So some of us are getting so many layers, even getting the trademarks and getting in the newspaper affidavits and putting in affidavits and this and that. If you have to do this, this means that you're still on the individual side because they still can come at that and challenge the name. So that's why they're able to reconstruct that trust. This is where this is coming from. So an individual is the corporate bank name and number. Let's right back to that social security card. So to get right back over that social security card name and number, which is also considered a what? Financial institution. Now I got to show this right here on the screen because we had to break it down earlier and you all asked that question. That was a good one about the form 56F, to be exact. Because if you do the 56F, let's talk about the form 56F and let's look at it real quick and analyze how the bank is taking back over the trust, even if you feel not the trust over the individual. Let me say it like that, because some of us would say, well, the trust is in charge. Okay, well, the bank is also a co-trustee with the trust now. That's what they're doing. All right, so let's go to this example I want to show you with the form 56F. Let's see, irs.gov. Do this for you all in real time. So 56F. I want y'all to type it in on irs.gov that you can't make it up. So the bank is able to take over jurisdiction that same day that y'all created that bank account with that trust. So we're going to break it down simply. And it says it right here. They get notice concerning fiduciary relationship. So 56F, and you got form 56, but let's go to 56F. Some of y'all never knew there was a 56F. It's right there. So this is notice concerning fiduciary relationship of a what? Financial institution. So you don't have jurisdiction to take over that financial institution because you don't have a financial institution license. It's how they're going to challenge you. You don't have your banker's license. You didn't grab the things from the Bankers Association. Now you have to have all these things to fill this form out, just for those who try to fill it out anyway. So they're going to figure out a way to get jurisdiction because they already do. So they get this form 56F, even after you did your form 56 and your 2848s, they're able to come right back in and do this notice of concerning fiduciary relationship of financial institution. All right, because we've given over all our funds again to the bank. We've given it over. We've given over everything that I worked hard for, right back to them. Okay. And they can freeze the account. They can say, hey, we're still waiting on approval. All right. So I'm saying to you, if this is happening, this is not the way it's supposed to go. You only get out maybe 20,000 a month, 10,000, right? But your trust, is good, but you just can't touch all the money. These are some of the layers, how the bank now has this jurisdiction, this fiduciary relationship. So this is the form they're filling out. This is the authority they're gaining. And this is, they know how to fill these things out. So I just want to show you the purpose of this form for those who try to fill it out anyway and to prove to you how you can't fill it out because you don't have the license, because they already told you who should fill it out and who should file it. It says Form 56 should be filed instead of Form 56L should be filed instead of Form 56 if this is the bank. I'm going to say right here. So fiduciary means a Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. There you go, the FDIC I showed y'all last week. Unless you got that revocable living trust, the FDIC now has jurisdiction over your accounts. Okay. It says, or other federal agency authorized by law to act as a receiver, right? So they're the receiver now. They're going to receive the funds, this federal agency or this federal agent or conservator of a financial institution. Look at this, a conservator of a financial institution. The term also includes any federal instrumentality, subsidiary, or agency. Look at this, wow. All the way down to your check cashing store. That's right, all the way down to that check cashing store in the hood. That is a predecessor or successor of this agency that is so authorized. Okay, so this is the fiduciary in their perspective of this, filling out this form. Now, they made it clear to you that the financial institution is the one that's doing this. So every time they're able to put in the challenge to the 1099Bs. That's what I'm going to get to prove to you how they're able to challenge the 1099Bs. Because if you didn't file those on your tax returns, or you didn't turn them in by the deadline date, they can challenge your 1099s. But some of us would say, well, I did it right, everything went through, but you're forgetting the bank is challenging you. Do you think they're just going to let you do it without making sure that everything looks good? So this is why we say put these things in place. Make sure you have the trust. So I have some layers of what I wanted to show as an example for those who feel confident. To feel more confident, let's say we talked about your trust autobiography. I wanted to show an example of what the brother was talking about earlier about the digital folder. So if at any point you had to prove your documentations at universitytechnicians.com, we help you create a digital folder. So this is my example. It's just a trust autobiography, something that I created, in the time of now. So what you'll do is you'll have a digital folder right here. You can have the link that you'll be able to have everything listed. I also have a layer of my trust, the name of my trust, myself as trustee, beneficiaries, my official records, have my book and page number here. So they can look me up in the official records, my UCC filings. So I'll get into that later, how I was able to take over the banking system too. As I got my trust into their system, I started to create a trust communication through the UCC filings. So this right here is another thing that we'll talk about in our private banking course as people begin to get themselves in the sole proprietor accounts. These are my office hours here. You can see that I have a phone number, I have an email account. You got to make sure you all have these too. So when people are communicating with you, you have your office hours. You got your operation times here, on call or by appointment, services, everything that's here. So if they ask me, okay, what do you do? Well, I have everything listed here in my trust autobiography. My service cost varies. One-on-one appointments, Zoom walkthroughs, in-person conferences. What's my starting cost? $115. This is what I was telling y'all, that the trust works for you. I mean, you're working for the employer, but the trust is paying you now. So that's what I get from this point of learning the revocable trust is going to pay me because I'm making the revocable trust work. Some of my potential payout rates, do I actually get paid this? Even if I don't get paid, my potential payout rate is $100 per hour. So that's every hour that's being a fair market value of what I believe is fair market value per hour. And if I'm working every hour of the day, because even if I'm laying down, I have to make sure the house is safe. I'm still keeping the house because people get paid to lay at people's house and lay down. So I'm going every hour of the day, 24 hours. So this is where my $2,400 per day comes from. So if I had say if it's $2,400 per day, what's 2,400 times 365? Here we go. So every year, now it shows 876K per year I should be able to claim because of me working through the trust. Right. So I'm working through the trust, whether they give me the Federal Reserve notes or not. Okay. So when I file my taxes, when I file my returns, I'm going to claim the amount. So that's where this is coming from. Just giving you all how this will look in real time for you. You have to make sure you have all types of things that you can offer because they're gonna check seeing who is your employer. One of our biggest questions we have to overcome from our class we talked about 2 weeks ago. Who is your employer? So I gave this as a trust autobiography, a quick presentation for you all real time live, just to kind of give you an example of what it looks like when you're actually getting into the point of proving yourself to this system that you're working in the trust. I'll go into another example. We have some of your softwares. They'll tell you how you can create a trust, declaration of trust for free. Of course, you can write it out by hand. I don't recommend you do that. If you just go through us, we can give you a template and help you execute that correctly. But if you are strapped for funds and you need to get this done, then these are different ways that you can create a trust. So you got your declaration of trust. Part one is your trust name. Part two is declaration of trust. You write these exact same words, copy and paste. So you copy and paste all this right here into your what they call Word doc or whatever that is, and you get it notarized. Schedule A is right here. So these are what things, examples, they're giving you examples of what you can do, how you create these revocable living trusts. So this right here is, some of those are going to be created like your name. So you put, this revocable living trust shall be known as they say, Tammy Trustmaker Revocable Living Trust. But that's usually what you'll see at the end of this name. You'll see Revocable Living Trust. So any questions or thoughts of this? This may be someone's first time learning about revocable living trust and how it takes you as the individual into the living side. So it's a different trust than if one did an irrevocable trust or if they had a corporate trust. So any questions or thoughts of how this creation of the trust is exactly done to activate that soul? All right, so this right here, once you have the living trust, this is going to activate what we call, as I went over into the notes, you'll be activating the soul, the SOLE. So once the SOLE is activated through the living trust, this allows you to enter into the sole proprietor side, as we say, of the social name and the social security number, which we have people effectively doing this. I've been effectively doing this myself for a number of years. So we're going to prove how this looks if you were to do this, and I'll get into some more screens in just a few, but let me go back to our notes right here. So an individual is the corporate bank name and number, which is also considered a financial institution. More notes on this will be later displayed with visual in certain bank agreements and contracts signed as individual rather than as trustee. All right, so you want to make sure when you sign your bank agreements, you're signing as trustee. And this is going to be even right here, even when using the Social Security card. Right, you're no longer signing as the individual for the Social Security card anymore. So now you're going to be signing as a sole trustee. That's what I'm saying the word is right here. So the name or the word of the day or the word of the week I want you all to learn is a sole, SOLE, trustee. That's what you're becoming. So the living trust activates the soul, right? It takes you back to when you were a baby. You're the grantor now. So now you take over all the items of everything that's been in the name, and you're able to move it over to the Schedule A. That's why we make it easy. You just use the revocable trust to claim everything that's been in your name. So a sole trustee must exist to sign as trustee. All right. So you can't just hurry up and grab the trust documents for your family or for your friends and automatically they're the sole trustee. They have to believe and know they're the sole trustee. If they don't believe and know they're the sole trustee, then they're not even signing as a sole trustee. They're signing as an individual. That's why I'm saying this is very important for our mind. You have to renew your mind and your thoughts and the way you think about this stuff when you're dealing with their bank. So the banking system is the hardest part that I always tell people when you get to the money, right? Because some of you get too comfortable, you stay on the individual side too long, then it starts to get shaky over there. Usually always does. So the sole trustee must exist and sign as trustee. And that's my source I went over right here. I showed you all the will maker, that example I went over earlier to show you how to create that revocable trust. Some of my images of the social trust card by the corporation right here. I'm going to give you all some of those example images. All right, see, these are some of the example images I'm speaking of. This is exactly what you're coming out of. You're coming out of the Social Security card name and number that was placed in the middle of these two bars. So they have captured you in their trust that they have. So this is a trust. If anybody never knew that this social card is a trust, even if you threw it away and said, I'm done with this social card, it still sits there. They are able to take jurisdiction over your social account, even if you forgot. So this is very important that we get right back into that Social Security office and begin to use it. I mean, it's your social account, it's your bank account. All right. So it's nothing special that you have to go and do and say to them. You know, it's more like, hey, what am I going to do with when I say, for instance, I'm going to get my sole proprietor account? What am I going to do when I get my sole proprietor account? I'm going to get everything that I have and place it in my savings. That's what I was saying earlier. That's your answer to how you save your soul. Now, I'm saying this, it sounds like it's a circle, but if you're still in the individual side and this social security card doesn't seem important to you, some of us may not even have a copy of our card. You know, we don't even know where it's at. So you got to gain this, you got to get this, and you have to make sure that you're paying attention to all these things. Let me get into some of my examples of myself, as I gave you also in my trust autobiography. So my digital folder, this allows me to just scroll through a lot of my information that I have. So if I had to get access to my social security card or a picture of it or a scanned copy, that's what the brother was saying earlier, that you want to have access to show all of your documents. So right here, I have a digital folder that has access to all of my documents, my business documents, my social security card. If I clicked here, my social card pops up. You know, I have everything showing. I have my social card. This is what I'm saying that you all should have when you're proving yourself in their system. state ID card, passport identification card. All these things are definitely important to have, where you're able to click on it and it pops right up. So that's giving more examples of the digital folder. I hope I answered a lot of questions about the banking system. We finished up from last week, mostly all of the notes, closing out to the part where we got to the images of trust, the social trust card created by the corporation, and how you're actually able to get out by using the revocable trust. So I'm going to be open up for you all in just a few for Q&A session on taxes. We'll get into a tax session in just a moment. So this information is telling you about the revocable trust. How exactly does one go about revoking a revocable trust? So a revocable trust is something that the bank can create for you also. So you can still revoke the revocable trust that the bank has in place for you, as long as you understand what you're doing. Like I say, you become the sole proprietor. This is also revoking that trust just because you have that sole proprietor bank account in the social. That by itself is a revocable trust. So for some of those who are new to the revocable trust, your social is a revocable trust and the EIN is a revocable trust. Once you have that trust instrument, it takes over both sides. It doesn't just say that the EIN is all power and the EIN is the important one. No, it's you. The social card is still important. You are the most important person that you know. Not everybody else, not a celebrity, not somebody else who got some knowledge. Right? It's our job to gain the knowledge. So you revoke that trust, the bank got. It's easy. Go in tomorrow and revoke the trust from them. These are things that you got to do if you're gonna live on the sole proprietor side. The revocable trust is a flexible legal entity financial structure that allows the individual who creates it, the grantor. That's right. So whoever that individual, you just gain yourself by moving yourself over to the grantor side. So now you're a grantor. Congratulations, you all. If you really believe and trust that you are, so you have to believe and trust in yourself to know that you're the grantor. So you have the power to change or remove the trust assets. That's right. So all of the money, all the cash flow, everything that's in that social card that we talked about last week, even the CUSIPs. But y'all are grabbing CUSIPs, but you can just grab all that information, everything, all at one time from the Treasury, right? Because there's so many CUSIPs, right? You'll be forever buying CUSIPs. We're going to go into why all the trust assets are all in the name that they had in that social security card. So when you remove yourself from the social card and become the sole proprietor, you're now able to liquidate all of the assets that was in the social security card. So I know it sounds like a mouthful, but they did say a lot right here in this one paragraph. The grantor can do it, not the individual. No, not that personal bank account. That personal bank account can't do it. Just letting you know. Because they're gonna cap you at 250,000. You see what I'm saying? So if you got $1 million that you're trying to grab, it's no way you can get $1 million because the individual side got you at 250K. So anybody still need to understand and believe this. This is why you can't get that much money. Another thing the bank can do, they say they can start freezing your account once it hits over $20,000 to $50,000. I think it's 50,000. Right? Some of them they hit you at 20,000. Depends on your situation. So this shows you that if they're able to freeze or tell you how much money you can have in your bank account, we know for sure it's an individual account. You got to come out of the individual and go into the grantor. The grantor may also amend the terms of the trust or its beneficiaries at any point during their lifetime. That's mean at any time, any day, any moment. You see, that's how powerful you are when you say, I'm going to amend or change some things. That's the grantor's job. And that's what you become once you live in this revocable trust. It's also referred to as a living trust. A revocable trust is often used to do what? To bypass. Look at that. So this is a bypass. It's probably your only bypass that you can legally use. Legally and lawfully use is the bypass, the living trust. Because the living bypasses the corpse, right? The corporations are bypassed. And you gotta actually know this. You can't ask them questions and say, hey, do you think this trust is right? Do you think that my trust is looking good? How are they gonna tell you? Right? I mean, you're supposed to be bypassing them. You're gonna go back to the corporation to get more answers to help you? Why would you go back to the corporation? All right, so the revocable trust, this is what they're saying. This is Investopedia. This isn't me. Just want to make sure y'all reading what I'm reading. Investopedia is telling you that you are able to bypass these people with a living trust. It's often used to bypass the time and expenses associated with probate. Here we go, court. That's another thing that they say that's court. Anytime you hear the word probate, that means court. The time and expense associated with court, which is probate, to transfer assets to heirs. If using a will instead of a trust, look at this, the probate process still applies. There we go. So I mean, some of us say, well, look, my granddad and my grandmama said, I don't need that living trust. I got a will in place already. I already got a will. Well, look, they just told you the probate is going to get access still to that information. They saying you still got to go through probate just because you have that will, which is the court. So this isn't something that you want to kind of use your own understanding on. Just for those who are leaning onto their own understanding and listening to other people on how to use their trust. Man, I'm telling you, this stuff is interesting. It says during the life of the grantor, income earned by assets is distributed to them. That's right. So the money goes to who first? The grantor. It don't go to all these other people first. It go to me if I'm the grantor. So I get all my deposits back. Everything that I put out, I should be able to get back. Right? If I'm in the trust. But if I'm on that individual side, I don't have access to none of those funds. There's no way I can claim none of those funds because I'm still on my individual side. And here we go. The last thing after we cease to exist on the earth, after death, trust property transfers to the beneficiaries. That means that all the beneficiaries get equal distribution to all of the funding of the trust. And that's where this last thing comes in at, where you see the revocable trust. Now I'm going to get out of this part right here. I'm not going to go into the details. I'll send you all this link that I have from Investopedia. Let me send it right here. And then we'll check some of our audience and see if anybody had any questions or thoughts so far about revoking that trust. I'm going to look on the live account that we have. Let me see if anyone has said anything there. All right. So we got a lot of people right here. Okay. So we got some people that said some questions. I'm listening. No watching using other forms. We create our own doc. Okay, so this brethren says we gonna create our own docs, which is a good point. You can create your own docs, but the only doc that we create is the revocable living trust. So once we create that, that's the document we want to operate through. Because it's the only thing that it shows we have the authorization or the authority based upon what they're saying in their court. But if I'm out here creating my own docs or my own affidavits, I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be able to use those documents with their treasury system or their corporate system to come out of their system. So we want to be able to use what they have in place for us to come out. That's why they're showing you how exactly does one go about revoking a revocable trust. So they're giving you the answer. I'm just giving you all some of these different articles that I've been able to research and find a lot of answers of different things. Then we gave y'all some sample trust earlier to show that sample trust. So if you needed to create one, you can type it up. Like I say, we have one with universitytechnicians.com. We walk you through to make sure everything is done on the correct way. Um, there's no pushback. We're gonna say where there's no pushback. So another question we have, someone on the audience, they say, why do you say it's the beneficiary of the SS card if we're assigning as trustee? Well, you're the sole trustee of the social card. You're the sole trustee. And you're also the beneficiary because the trust we talked about last week is able to play all three parts. So let me go to where I got that answer from last week. For some of those who didn't see that answer from last week. How you become the sole trustee is what the Treasury tells you to do. So the Treasury creates you or gives you the authority to become the sole trustee. This is where I got the information from. I went to the Treasury's office right here, and I was able to go to treasurydirect.gov, where I got the answer from treasurydirect.gov. Now, if you all need this link again, I'll post it in the chat where y'all can get access to this link again to make sure that you
Yes,
know.
please do that, Wallace. Yes, please.
No problem. All right, so yeah, we're gonna get to that answer, Bobby. I think I said it earlier, but I'm gonna give you all more evidence to the answer of what revokes that trust from the bank. Right? How do you get that bank to no longer say they're gonna touch any of those funds? That's what we're saying. Okay, so the trust right here, coming right from their office. I'm not using my own documents or my own forms. That's what I'm trying to make sure we don't do that. Make sure you use their stuff to explain what you're gonna do. So FS Publication 0049, Department of the Treasury, Bureau of the Fiscal Service, tells you what is a trust. So what you want to do is do not do any illegal activity with your trust because they're able to make your trust null and void if there's any illegal activity. So it tells you right here, a trust is a real or personal property held by one party for the benefit of another or oneself. A trust can be created for any purpose as long as it is not illegal or does not go against what? Public
We don't see
policy.
your screen.
Oh, you don't see the screen? Okay, let me see. All right, here we go. You should be able to see it now. So it says a trust is real or personal property held by one party. You see it now, right? All right, there we go. You all can see
Yes.
that. For benefit of the other, a trust can be created for any purpose as long as it is not illegal or does not go against public policy. A trust must have specific purpose, a designated beneficiary, and specific duties for the trustee as designated by the grantor. See, the grantor designates all things. So that's why you become that sole trustee or that sole proprietor. So you can come out of that side to be that grantor. So it says every trust has the following: a person creating the trust. See, you got to create that trust. Who is that person? You. You got to create trust for yourself. So don't try to think someone can do it for you. You can't call the lawyer and say, hey, I got my friend. I know my homeboy. He been doing this for years, been studying trust law. Now I'm gonna go grab a trust from him. Look, you got to create your own trust. If you can read and write, you can do it. If you don't know how to read and write, then you can get someone to translate it for you. All right. This is called a what? A grantor, a trustor, a settler, or a maker. That means you're a maker now. That's what we went over this. I went over this. Just a quick recap of showing you your power and your position that the Treasury says once you get this trust, when you create that trust. Let me scroll all the way down and not stay on this too long right here. I'm going to show you how you're able to play all three of those parts again. So the grantor, the trustee, and beneficiary may be the same person. Here we go. So let's show you that person that I went over is that social security card, is that person. So that person, you're able to take over all three of those positions if you choose to live through that trust. So the grantor, and I'll get into how this is the A. We're going to go into the tax forms in just a few because I'm going to strike our brain, because if you don't know what this is before I tell you what the form is, then you're not going to be able to understand when you get the funds anyway. So the grantor is the 1099A, the trustee is the 1099B, and the beneficiary is your beneficial interest 1099B. Okay? That's how the game looks. If you don't understand that, then that means you're on the individual side still. Because this is substantiating the 1099A, the 1099B, and the 1099 beneficial interest B that you're able to get from the banking system. That's where you're getting the beneficial interest from. Y'all trying to grab beneficial interest from all these companies. Get the beneficial interest from the bank. It's no revenge. And all the money's coming from the bank anyway. So I'm giving you this layer to show how you're playing all three parts once you got that revocable trust. No one invented this. This has always been this way. All right. So I want to give you the answers where it's coming from rather than just telling you and showing you how to do something. I want to give you the keys so that you can understand how to unlock the door and come back anytime you want. So this is where this is coming from, for those answers of why that beneficial interest is important. So you can get right into the nitty gritty of visiting, which we're going to call that office. Where is it at again? Right here. So this is the office right here. The IRS. This is where you get to the IRS. So some of us are not ready to talk to the IRS yet because you got to have your stuff ready to go. You got to come correct when you're getting your tax returns back. And then when you get it back, you got to make sure you're putting it in the right account, because it can mess up if you put it in the wrong account. So right here, the information for individuals, this is the side we're telling you to come out of. Come out of the individual side. And they're going to go right into how individuals file and when to file, where to file, and so on. That's the individual. What your goal is to get into the business and self-employed. The least B is a self-employed one, because you're taking care of yourself, at least. Now, some are against the self-employed or the business, which is okay. But I'm giving you the blueprint, so in case you choose to change your mind or amend your mind to go into the trust, this is where the answers are. So when I click on business on the IRS website, this is what I'm saying. You're getting the answers to get to your answers. You're going to be able to run your business. Right here, they tell you right here, prepare your taxes, file or pay your taxes. Right here, run your business. That's all the IRS tells you to do. Then they give you all the layers you can prepare. You can deduct expenses. I tell you all about the Schedule C, give you all some clues and answers to this. And you can take my one-on-ones Monday through Friday. These calls are free. We talk about everything freely on these calls. File or pay your taxes. It goes into those filing of those forms, the 1099 A, B. Some of us are focused on the A and the B. That's fine. This is where you file or pay your taxes right here. Run your business. Now, these are your business types. So you can't get out of this side. If you don't agree with being any of this right here, then you're still going to be checked off by the system as the individual. So the goal is to not be checked off in the system as an individual. You want to be checked off as which we gave you all the answers earlier, is a sole proprietorship. Now we use a sole proprietorship a specific way. We don't say go grab an EIN for the sole proprietorship. Now I'm not going to get into that today because I did calls on this already to say do not grab the EIN for the sole proprietorship. You're going to be able to use the sole proprietorship with the social. So, is any questions or thoughts to this? Want to make sure I didn't lose anybody. You do not grab the EIN for the sole proprietorship. Go ahead. Anybody? I know somebody's probably pondering right now. Who has that question? Type it in the chat or speak your mind. Nobody? Nobody wants to explain why or say why don't I grab the EIN for the sole proprietor?
Thought you had to have the EIN to do the sole proprietor.
No, I was just asking this question to make sure everybody knows why I'm asking this question. So are you saying you
Because
thought to get
no,
this?
you have to have it.
Was that?
You have to have the EIN to qualify for it.
No, no. You
Okay.
don't need the EIN to be a sole proprietor. You don't need the EIN.
You already got your social. You don't need any EINs.
There you go. Thank you, Bobby.
But I'm confused. Why do some people get an estate EIN? Because estate EINs are for decedents, like people who died. Do you would support that? That there's some use for it?
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. We're just speaking of just the sole proprietor EIN at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? Because the estate, that's even more of a situation we got to think about. But right now, we're just saying why not get the sole proprietor EIN? Anybody want to challenge that? Why not get the sole proprietor EIN?
Why not? Because it would incorporate you. It would make you a corporation.
Okay. So basically, when you grab the EIN in some form, it brings you in some form back into the corporation, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one. Anybody want to challenge that? Do you think that by grabbing the EIN of the sole proprietor, does this protect you? Does it make it where you're not under the corporation when you grab the EIN of the sole proprietor? We're just picking
No,
brains right now.
I just think that it separates you from whatever entity you want associated with your private framework. I just think that when you get the EIN, it separates, like you were saying before, just separates the entities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know problem. All right. So the entities that you're speaking of is what, the LLCs?
Well, let's say, you're a sole proprietor. When you get a new EIN, you're suggesting it's not the original sole proprietor. So like you're creating it and however you operate, kind of in my opinion, it might start to have a discrepancy there because it doesn't go back far enough. It starts when you created it. Whereas
Right. So
opposed to what you were
that's what some
saying,
people so what some people would feel like, well, I can't start my sole proprietor because I gotta grab the EIN, right? But the
well,
treasury doesn't say.
you have it already with the social, essentially.
Correct.
So it's like it's kind of a redundancy at that point.
Correct. But why do people feel that they gotta grab the EIN in order to activate the sole proprietor? I just want to make sure we capture this thought because the IRS doesn't say sole proprietorships. A sole proprietorship grabs an EIN. Does it say this?
Yeah, the people think they have to be separated. They don't can go as an individual. If they use their social, they use an individual number. That's what they think. And that's why they think they have to get the EIN, I think.
No problem. So it does bring you back to the individual side by grabbing the EIN in some form. Makes sense. So we see a sole proprietor is someone who owns an unincorporated business by themselves. If you are the sole member of a domestic limited liability company, LLC, and elect to treat the LLC as a corporation, you are not a sole proprietor. That's right. So the LLCs are not really supposed to go in the sole proprietor area either. So that's another part that we learned. The sole proprietor, when we fill out that Schedule C, some of us have been told to put the LLC there. But they already told you, right? The IRS already said to you, look, you're not a sole proprietor. But why do they always fill out your LLCs on the Schedule C? Let's make sure we're all looking at it together. These are some of the forms that you're going to have to master in their tax system. They want you to master these forms already. So the sole proprietorship is what it says right here on Schedule C. And the Schedule C is just a layer of what activates the sole proprietor, just to kind of give us an understanding of how that sole proprietor is activated. So when you do this Schedule C with your taxes, this is actually helping you activate what they want to say in their system. We'll understand as a sole proprietor. Now, I went over the answers. I wanted to show on the screen where the answers are coming from. This is where they show you on the screen. They tell you to do a 1040 tax return. So you do the individual, but you're moving the individual from the individual side to the sole proprietor right here. So you're going to be able to do the Schedule C with the individual tax return. So that's your answer. So any remedy, if one wants to understand how that looks, this is where this is coming from and how you're going to be moving yourself from the individual side, as we just showed on the screen right here. So individuals, and you'll be moving from individual side to the business or the sole proprietor over here. All right. Okay, so I think that closes out the part for the banking system, at least at this point. Now, we can't get to the bank account yet because I don't want to go too far into the bank account this week. I just wanted to give you all a full review of the left and the right side, because the left side is the individual, what leads us to the left side. Then you have the right side, which is the trust accounts, which leads you to the trust accounts, which also can get into the corporation trustees, which you can see the corporation coming in through trust as well. So there's ways that you can overcome this once you get that sole proprietor. This is the straight way to get that, we'll say, the trust activated, or to revoke the trust from the banking system. You want to have a sole proprietor account. That is a business account that has your name on it. Now, that's important as I talk about the sole proprietor business bank account, because once you have that, you'll be able to prove that you're on the business side, and you'll be able to prove to the banking system that you're doing business. Now, it's very important that you grab that understanding, because this is very important before you grab the treasury checks. So treasury checks is just one layer, but you got to understand how to do main layered things with your social security card. So that's the straight way. If anybody wanted to learn to know this, you use the same social security card. This is how you're going to come out of the system. The same way you came in is the same way you come out. So you come out of the social security card, you go into the sole proprietor. And when you go into the sole proprietor, you will learn to use the sole proprietor cards. So let me give this last example for you all with a clear image of that sole card, and then we'll be getting into questionnaires for the last 20 minutes of taxes and information about tax returns, claiming refunds, and things of that sort. So let's get right into that screen and show you what I'm using to this day. Since 2019, I've been able to save my soul, get it into the sole proprietor side of the banking system. And from there, my life has changed into a way that I've never seen it go before. Okay, so here's some of the examples of the card that I've been able to use and has protected me from the banking system on the individual side for a number of years. We'll say exactly over about 7 years now. Yeah, exactly, about 7 years. Now, the accounting is very precise because you see it says business. I want you all to make sure that your card now says business on it. If it doesn't say business, it's automatically on the individual side. So that's how you know for sure that you're on the sole proprietor side of your social. So I'm using still my social security card. I'm not using a EIN. I'm not using a sole proprietor um, EIN of any sort. Okay. I'm not using a trust EIN or a irrevocable trust EIN or any of those things to accomplish this right here. I'm using my social. So I went the straight way, the narrow way with my social, which is another biblical principle. We'll talk about how you're able to come out of the SSN because we are learning how to come out of that, which we say the SSN is also considered in biblical principles your sin, right? So you're sinning every day that you're in the individual. You're individually trying to do things by yourself, right? So that's the individual side. That's what you're coming out of that SSN, which is the sin, right? We're going to go biblical for you. So now you're taking care of your business, which is you, which is what we were supposed to take care of from the beginning, right? That is where this is all coming from. Like you see, I see that, this was valid through 2023. So that shows you how long I had it. I had it since 2019, like I was telling you. This is an old card too, by the way. So this is where you see the name. You see my name on my full legal name is right here at the top. Then the bank usually does their derivative because they show that I've taken over the accounting because they're at the bottom. They're not in front of me, they're behind me. As we talked about, you're able to place the power of attorney in front of them because you now have the power. And I like how they put this, the power. This bank is so interesting. They have so many clues. They show you how to come out. Like I say, I just went into a credit union. You all may have a credit union that it can work for you too. Some of your credit unions may not work. But this is a credit union I use for the business side, and this is the sole proprietor. So all the cash that I put into my savings account of this card, I'm able to move it from the savings to the checking. So this is a checking account card. So when I spend the money, I would use this card. Sometimes I buy post office money orders. Sometimes I just purchase exactly what I need to purchase with the card, or I may just use a full payment with PayPal. Right. So there's always you can use this card for business. So that is the beginning of coming out of the individual side. So every day that you have been with, you know, out this is meaning that you have to now move all those funds to this side, which is the business side. Next is the secured credit. So I went even further to show on the savings side, I saved my soul. I kept all the savings and money there, and I created a secured credit card on the business side of my name, which is the social. So this is still the social security card, like I just explained to you. Nothing changed. It's my name. I now have created my own credit. This is my credit card, right? Oh, let me share the screen. All right, this is my credit card. So I don't grab credit cards from all these other companies. I create my own credit card through the banking system that I created with my sole proprietor first. Now I'm going to say that first. I'm not saying you never, ever in the future ever do this. I'm just saying save your soul first. So then those funds can now fund other accounts. So I'm not giving you all the juice and the sauce right now because I know there's so much more to talk about. When you start getting into secured credit. So someone would ask, well, how much can I put in secured credit? Well, I was told if I come in with whatever amount of cash that I choose to secure, I am able to secure that amount of cash for my credit. All right. So this is where the credit comes from. And I'm able to give myself credit. Now, I know this sounds different from what we've learned because some of us grab the LLCs, we grab the corporations, and boom, they give you an approval of $300,000, $500,000 or whatever, right? But that's the unsecured cards. Those are unsecured credits. So we want you to become secured. And the reason why we say become secure, because you're moving all the cash that you receive through a secured account. So I'm getting into this to show you how I've went through all the layers, and you can do this and duplicate this same process at the other banks. So now I have about 3 banks. I'm working on another bank as well that'll be able to give me the sole proprietor business account and the sole proprietor secured credit card. So any questions or thoughts on the visual effect of what you're doing when you're holding the cards in your hand? You're actually out there, you're using the card, you're sliding, you're buying things, you're paying for your rent. So this is what I've talked about too, how I pay my rent. I can pay for gas, I can rent a car, I can go to a hotel, I can do whatever because I have a credit card, right?
You're moving as the trustee at that point. Being funded by the trust, just like what you're
Mhm.
saying. Everything is moving through, and all you're doing is just operating, like you said, 24 hours a day.
There you go. You see? And that's the whole point, because all of the funds is going through the business, which is me. And I'm the sole trustee now. I'm proving I'm the sole trustee. I don't have to write an affidavit. I don't have to take it to the Secretary of State or to the corporation and tell them and say to them all these things, right? Well, I've revoked all their power because all my funds are in these cards. Say less. That's what they say nowadays in the generation. Say less. So that's my screen, y'all. That's my presentation for the sole proprietor bank account that I wanted to get to. And I also gave you the credit account. This will also become a creditor. As time goes on, you'll become the creditor. But we can't get into the creditor yet because that'll get you to the secured loans over time. We'll talk about the secured loans that you'll be able to create, which is through the banking system that you create as well. So you have to create all things. You cannot use something that somebody else created, because then they're going to take power of attorney over that. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just showing you that's what they're going to do. That's how this always works. So I hope this helps with any thoughts or questions or shares on this part. So we now open up for our Q&A session. Let me go ahead and stop share for that, so you all can go right into your questions and thoughts on the 1099s. You got the 1040s. We have all types of information to jump into. So I just went through and walked you all through the banking system in and out. So feel free to go to what you want to start off with.
Yeah, if it's okay, I would like to start. I just have a question about, so I'm about to, so tomorrow is Monday, I'm going to file my documents with IRS. And when do I file my 1041 to, for my trust?
Hold that thought 1 second. Apologies, had a technical difficulty. So yes, what you're doing first is you have to save your soul, right? So you can't deal with a trust like most people teach. um, we're not able to get into the trust first if we haven't got ourselves right. That is part of the Schedule C and the saving your soul, making sure those taxes are done that way first. Then you take those numbers and they mirror over to the 1041. So that's, you're filing your 1041 next. So you get your 1040 right. Once your 1040 is good, then you move over to the 1041, which is going to take you into the fiduciary power. So hold
So
that.
Yeah, no, if you remember, we did the taxes together and I filed my 1040 and filed also my beneficial interest. And so they should be aware of my soul and the business connected to it.
Correct. But that's the
So
point. Once it's accepted, so did they accept your tax return when you filed it, or did you turn it in? How did you do it?
I sent it in by mail and they sent me a response back that the taxes are filed and that they will respond soon with an request of additional supporting documents or a refund.
Ah, sounds good. So they may ask you for sending in the beneficial interest B or any of those 1099s. And if they don't ask you for it, it looks as if they're just going to send you the refund, right?
I don't know. It's my first time.
Sounds great. I mean, you got a letter, so you have some power because you got a document that came from the Treasury and not from someone else telling you that you about to get your check.
Okay, so could I go ahead and file my 1041? Or no, you mentioned I should wait for the proper answer, or yeah, how does this work? I don't really know because you said marinate the numbers. I'm not sure.
All right, so let's keep it simple. Once you get your answer from the Treasury, that's all you need to do is private. There's nothing else that needs to be shared. There's nothing you need to do. We're not here to prove it to no one else. Prove it to yourself, right? And that's great because you can trust yourself first, and then once you get your sole proprietor right, now you can get the funds with your trust. So that's for anyone listening. I mean, we got to make sure we do it in the correct order. Don't try to get away from the sole proprietor, which is yourself, which is your social. So I hope that helps.
Yes, okay. But I'm still gonna go ahead and because I would wish to just file with the IRS my power of attorney and other documents like the 56 fiduciary form, just to revoke other entities' powers.
Right,
Yeah,
correct. That's
yeah.
that's where that 1041 comes in. That's what I'm saying. Once you do the 1041, that's going to revoke all those powers on the 56 side. So it's easy, but it's difficult because we got to have the mind and we got to have the confidence that we're doing this. So that's for anybody that's hearing this and thinking about this. Like, yes, you have to know how to do those taxes because that's where they're getting everybody at in America. Taxes. Because for some reason, doing business, the corporation can't teach you how to save your soul, which is to do a sole proprietor. We don't know why. We're just going to tell you the corporation cannot teach you to do a sole proprietor. There's nowhere to teach you this. All right, now you can probably buy a book from Barnes and Noble, or you can probably go online to Amazon and they may have some sole proprietor booklets for you, but that's as much as far as they're going to do for you. So anybody that's new to this, I would advise anyone that's starting their business, the first book you buy is a sole proprietor business workbook. Because if you don't understand how to save your sole proprietor, then all this other businesses that we try to run are also going to be messed up, even the LLCs. So it's very important. This is new information. Go ahead, Bobby.
But would you confirm that it is okay that I file 2848 power of attorney with the IRS and the Form 56 fiduciary relationship so that there's proper standing with the IRS and other entities are removed? Or more likely, no.
Yeah, short answer is no. The reason why you don't go right to the Form 56 just trying to file it stand alone is because first off, the instructions don't tell you where to send it. That's the first question. Like, where does anybody have evidence of the instructions telling you to send it anywhere? Where's the mailing address?
I would need to research it.
But that's what I'm telling you. You're not going to find it. So we got all these. These are different things people are selling because they're telling you to turn in the Form 56. All right. Now you go to instructions. There is no address to send the Form 56. So that's the question for those who have that answer. Anybody on the call or anybody on YouTube land have an answer for that? where do you send the Form 56 that the IRS tells you to send it? Okay, we have no answers. So you all are
Yeah,
just been sending Form 56s out. Where are you guys sending those things at?
yeah. So for my state, it is stating Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Austin, Texas.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah,
address.
that is what they say. What Google is telling me.
Well, that's what Google's telling you. But what does the IRS say? The IRS doesn't tell you to send that anywhere.
Where to? Okay. Form
I'm looking at
56.
2024 instructions right now. It doesn't say to send that form by itself nowhere. Anybody here want to give an answer to this? Because we've heard so many different processes out here
Yeah,
telling
so
us to send the Form 56.
address to mail form to IRS, file form 56 at Internal Revenue Service Center, where the person for whom you are acting is required to file tax returns. Yeah. So where you file your taxes.
All right.
No, that I think he missed it because the person for whom read that again for me, can you please?
Mm-hmm.
File form 56 at Internal Revenue Service Center, where the person for whom you are acting is required to file tax returns.
Person for whom you are acting. We gotta look over that part a little better. That's part that's tripping me up.
Mm-hmm. It's right there. It says file a separate Form 56 for each person for whom you are acting in a fiduciary capacity. They're telling you all the answers. It says it right there. It's like, man. But yeah, it says example, if you will be filing the decedent's final form 1040 and are the executor administrator of the decedent's estate, file one form 56 entering the name of the decedent as the person for whom you are acting on file 156. So that's your example of someone taking over the estate in court.
Could that perhaps be like a service if you were like H&R Block or Tax Liberty?
Correct. They're gonna take over fiduciary if you give them power to do it. So they're gonna file it. They're not gonna tell you. It's a back office form. That's what we're gonna tell people at this point. These are back office forms. So answer is, I would tell you all the answers plainly, is that you're supposed to file it with a 1041. That's where you send your form 56. All right.
And you
That's
would file it as the all caps name with your trust, living trust, and the fiduciary is the living man, woman. Or
right. You are the fiduciary. Remember, we talked about how the social security number is the
yes,
fiduciary. All right.
yes.
So if the social security number is the fiduciary, then what is
Who's the
what is the form 56 filed for? It's filed for the
yes,
trust,
yes, okay.
the revocable trust, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Let me give you all that screen again so we have a visual to this. Because I want to prove
So
that the social is the fiduciary once you move it to the 1041 side.
yeah, sorry for asking too many questions, but you would file with your 1041 with your taxes from the trust. You would also file your power of attorney for the IRS and your form 56.
No, 2848 is for the social. Form 56 is for the revocable EIN.
I got you.
There you go. I just gave you the plain answer. All right, you got
Yes,
it. So you
thank
see what
you.
I'm saying, right? So
Yes.
that's why I'm showing the screen, because if we don't see this, then you're not going to know where it's at. So the social security number is the fiduciary once you all are getting and taking in that power. So you take over the accounting by doing these 1041 also for the same calendar year that you're filing for the social. Now, I know people don't tell you this, but they're telling you to use a revocable living trust. You got the EIN, but it clearly tells you to file a 1041. It does not say file a 1040 by itself. It says to file a 1041 when you have the EIN. Does that all make sense to anybody that's listening to these calls?
Can you say that again?
If you got a EIN document that makes you the trustee of a living trust, right? The EIN document says to file a 1041. Is that what it says? I just want to make sure we're all verifying that's what the document tells everybody to file. All right, so it doesn't say file a 1040. So that's where we have the screen to kind of show you filed both. You filed the 1040 and you filed the 1041. So the 1041 is for the EIN. The 1040 is for the social, just to not make it confusing for anyone. So if you want to make sure you know the answer is both. You got to file both. Anybody else have any questions for this week? You may have some hard questions about taxes. I heard somebody ask about the 1099As, the Bs, and things like that. Do we have any questions about those
Just
1099s?
just real quickly about the 1040. You said you filed for the 1040 for the social, but under the business side, like you're still not doing this any of this under the individual side. You would still submit a 1040 to the business side, or how, like I'm just trying to understand. You like you wouldn't, because it's a 1040 for individuals, but we were just talking about coming out of the individual side.
Correct, but those forms I showed where it says sole proprietor, it tells you to file a 1040 and to also add to your 1040 a Schedule C. All right, so every day that we don't have the Schedule C added to our 1040, the system checks us off as the individual. All right, not the Form 56 that people keep saying, hey, turn in the Form 56 with your 1040, then this takes you out of their system. It's not correct. It's not correct. Just want to make sure we clarify this, because the only ones who can do that 56 that way, according to what it shows, is someone appointed by the court. If it's on the 1040 side, we're going to say the individual. So you have no authorization, no authority to live as an individual. That's any of us. That's right. That's why we try to live our whole life. That's all they train you to do. That's train all of us to be an individual. You can be anything you want to be. That's what they tell us. But we got to come out of those things. Got to come out of all those things they taught us, because they kept us on the individual income tax return side. So I hope this helps with the layer of what this looks like. So I'm showing you from the IRS website. It says sole proprietor. And the way you come out of that is you have to have that Schedule C added to the individual year of that tax return. So let's give it, for example, somebody say, well, how does this look, Brother Wallace, for today? Right here, Brother Rock, it shows 2025.
We don't see your screen.
Oh, you don't see it's 2020? Okay, let me go to the screen. All right, so this is where it shows the individual, and we got a hand raise. I see Carlin with a hand raise. And let me go back to that screen before that, how I got to this to show and prove, where the individual tax return right here has to be updated with the Schedule C, not the Form 56. There's no Form 56. It shows right here for the individual side to be updated to the business. Now I'm looking at the business side. I'm not looking at trust, because they don't show trust over here. This isn't trust. This is just straight up business. So yes, Schedule C. I clicked on this right here, and it took me right here to Schedule C. And then guess what year it shows me? It shows me right here, year 2025. So that's right now. So all of you all can update yourselves in the system with a sole proprietor in 2025. Go ahead, Carlin. I see your hand.
Yes, hi. Is this gonna be like when you file in Schedule C, is it considered like income or a loss?
Right. So we do the A, like I always say, is I put the A, the B on the Schedule C. So I
Oh,
put all my stuff on here. So my A goes on here. That's my income. Then my
mhm.
B goes on my expenses. But I put my expenses way down here, and I explain my expenses in details where I do part 5. So when people ask these questions about the A and the B, I don't know where you're putting it at because I don't understand how you're just able to just do the A and the B, but you're not doing business.
Oh, I thought you said like with with you doing this filing sole proprietor, we're not doing the 1099s. We're just doing the bank account um calculation.
No, no, no.
Okay.
We're adding everything up that you did on those 1099s, and we're adding it to the 1040. And then the 1040 needs to be updated with the sole proprietor. So there's 3 steps really. You
Oh,
got
so
your
you are doing
1099s. Yeah.
okay.
You got 3 steps. Your 1099s, you got your 1040, and then you got your Schedule C.
Okay. Um, so is that considered on that, is that considered income or is that like when you do the calculation or the bank amount, when you telling us to calculate all the debts that we had from the bank, is that gonna be put on income or is that gonna be considered like a debt that we paid out?
The bank is the B, right? The B. So
Oh,
then
so
that's
we're
under
gonna
your
calculate,
expenses.
sorry to cut you, we're gonna calculate everything on the bank and then put it on the B on the 1099B?
Yeah, deposits is the bank because you're the payer, right? I'm going off the form.
Okay.
The form says payer. So
Okay, so
the
that's
payer is the expenses, right? The payer pays the expenses. That's the payer. That's the 1099B.
Business expense.
Mm-hmm. The trustee. I'm a trustee now. I'm the sole trustee. I'm paying all these expenses for the business.
okay. So you are using 1099s. Okay. Because I thought we had the option if we did the 1099s, then you was gonna use it. But I thought you were saying that we didn't have to do the 1099s. We could just calculate all the bank statements and then give that to you.
No, no,
And
no, no, no. We don't
okay.
have no bank statements. You just got your number. So you type up your whole number and you
Yes.
put your total number where it says the expense of your bank. That's why I say you got to be the bank, the banker, and the broker. Once you join to this sole proprietor side, I just gave you my cards. I showed you my cards,
Okay,
right?
so you're gonna put your total number instead. But the total number is not going on. Okay, it's like you're seem like to me saying two things. Is it going on a 1099B or is it going on the C, on the Schedule C?
I just told you the answers 3 times. I'm doing the 1099A, I'm doing the 1099B, and then I'm gonna take those numbers that I put on those forms I got accepted, and I'm gonna take it and put it on my Schedule C. Those same numbers.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also I from doing the trust I had did before the trust 1041. And I know a lot of other people, that's including myself, this week with the IRS sending everybody frivolous letters, or they're gonna get fined if they don't because they're filing the credit, I guess they consider it frivolous. Like you're gonna get fined if you don't either amend it or I guess withdraw the filing. So would this be any type, you ever gotten any type of issue with that as far as it being frivolous?
No. How would it be frivolous if you're doing business?
Cause like, the same thing with the 1099B, every like a lot of people I know who filed it, they sent them out a frivolous filing.
No problem. Did they update themselves into the sole proprietor?
Um, well, like including myself, it wasn't doing the sole proprietor. Like I was doing like, I guess, Vince process, and it was pretty much doing the trust, doing the decedent, recording the
Yeah,
trust.
you wasn't an individual. You didn't open up the business.
No, yes. What you mean? Who said that? Okay. What
But
you
we
mean
got
they
we
open
got
up a business?
yeah, he said you don't have open up a business, but we got Carlos Sala. He's been patient as well. But I understand where you're going is that you probably didn't finish some parts that you were instructed to do with whichever process you're taking. But what we do is we can't do anything if we haven't saved our soul, the way I break it down to myself. So I have to have my soul right first, which is my sole proprietor. And then from there, I can go ahead and do all those, like we just mentioned, those A's and B's and things of that sort can be substantiated because I've placed it on my sole proprietor. But
Okay, I
I don't
mean,
know.
on his thing, he never told us about this, but I had my name as a business way before I did that. So business bank account, everything as I guess sole proprietor, I had that as well. And then I
Did
did
you,
the
right,
ten 40.
did you do a EIN or did you do a social?
When I did the 1041, that's with the EIN because it has a separate EIN.
No, no, no. We're asking you a specific question for your 1040 for your sole proprietor. Did you do an EIN for your sole proprietor?
No, the sole proprietor was not in the, it was just me recording the sole proprietor. It wasn't me filling out this form right here, which is
Okay.
you
All right.
have
So,
here.
all right. All right. So we'll pause right there to say that you do not have the Schedule C added, and we'll get back to you in just a few to kind of go into more layers to fix the problem that you're saying. But I'm gonna let Carlos Sela get his
Okay.
hand out. But I do see where you're saying that you're probably you can fix the problem, but you have to get to this point with the Schedule C.
Oh,
So go
well,
ahead.
that's not a problem. I already do know how to fix it. I just amends it and remove all the credit. So I'm just gonna do it all over again. So
No
I did
problem.
that. I remove all the credit so it can be like back to square one. And then I'll probably do it again this year after everything gets fixed with the RS. Yeah.
No problem. That sounds good. Yeah, definitely get those things fixed if you get those letters.
Okay.
No problem. We'll help you as well. Okay, Carlos, you got any think his hand he wanted to speak on anything?
Good evening, Brother Wallace, and good evening to everybody on the call. I just wanted to ask a quick question. I know when we do the Schedule C, that's where we add all the expenses that we had or whatnot. But do we still, if I'm a W-2 employee as well, do I still put that on the 1040 side, or does that come in under federal withholding under the Schedule C? And do I claim my children, like for example, the tax credits? I don't know how that works because that's mixing the individual and also the business. So I don't know how the refund will be issued or the credits.
That's a great question. Um, what you're doing is you're updating yourself with the revocable living trust. So that's what activates the soul as well. So you got to take the beneficiaries as well and take them and place them on the tax return as dependents. So nothing changes. The only thing you're doing is updating yourself in the system as a sole proprietor. So if you're missing that Schedule C, that is also the part that you have to add.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and amend the taxes for the prior years, so I'll be able to add the Schedule C to those taxes.
Yeah, now if you need a walkthrough or assistance, you can definitely call us or connect with us at universitytechnicians.com. We definitely help people make sure you use the software. So we don't want you to just try to fill out a form real quick and try to turn it in. We want you to do it through the software to make it a lot easier to understand. So we do tech support for software. So for those who are new to this, be sure to take your time because once you mess up, the Treasury will take up to 16 weeks, all right, to correct that problem and send the check. All right. So don't get out here thinking that you can just send anything to the Treasury. It's not going to work out well for you all. So just make sure you do it correct the first time and everything will be okay. And make sure you ask questions. Call the IRS agents before you turn things in, saying, hey, I finished this right here. Does everything look good? What if I do this? What if I do that? If you can't talk to them, then that's a problem because they're the one that's sending the check. So I hope this helps for those who are listening. We're not going to say there's a process that someone taught or it's their fault. We're all equally held responsible for our own things that we do. So the IRS doesn't say, hey, this guy showed me this process and I turned it in and I didn't know if it was going to work. They don't accept those answers for you all. So just make sure you can't look back and blame someone for our failures or our mistakes that we made. So I hope this helps with everything to those who are getting started into this knowledge and information. We like to say, protect yourself with the revocable living trust first. So that way everything is smooth and easy. Read through your trust, learn how to revoke the power. Feel confident when you're talking to these different people at these offices. Tell them you got a revocable living trust and you want to revoke some things. All right? That's all you need to say. Talk in the language that makes sense, really, to you. We don't care if they don't understand. Some people say, well, they don't know what I'm talking about. Who cares if they don't know what you're talking about? It doesn't mean it's not in the IRS website. It tells you. They tell you exactly what it says. So I'll close us out from this week. Just wanted to give you all confidence in knowing that you're able to go through all these processes easily as long as you see it with filing your taxes. So anything else? We got any last thoughts, questions, shares, or questions? I'm sorry, I said that twice. Any thoughts, questions, or shares, or comments? Just feel free to answer that.
I forgot to ask you, do you have to ask for like, is it has to be below a certain amount? For example, like I had the consultation with you and I was saying I owe the RS a certain amount. So even if I was to file it and say, for example, my debt, my debt is 400 and some $1,000 or the expenses, whatever amount I'm putting on there for the 1099, wouldn't that be able to cover whatever amount I owe the RS to still get a return?
No, short answer is no. They won't use the refund to cover the amount that you owe. What they do is they'll just hold it and keep saying we're reviewing it for 60 days if you already owe the IRS. What they want you to do is pay off the debt first or create a payment plan with them before they will release the refunds. We got people on the line that have explained their testimonial on how to deal with the IRS. I think Madutiel, but we won't be able to get into these testimonials for this week. I'm going to be closing us out immediately, but I just wanted to make sure that we were able to get through all of our thoughts, all our questions and shares for this week. And we'll get into more details of how you're going to respond to the IRS if you owe them on the next following calls. Thank you all for coming this week.
Nightfall,
All right,
everybody.
thank
Be
you.
safe out there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Brother Wallace.
Thank
Thank you.
you.